Hey guys, so my last few videos have been in regard to Houdini, ray marching, looking at some of the cool stuff that's happening over at Shader Toy, figuring out how to integrate those ideas into a Houdini workflow, which is really cool and exciting. But I want to take a break from that for a minute and talk to you about ngSkinTools. Now, if you have not used this tool, I think it will greatly benefit your rigging and skinning work in Maya. So we're coming back to Maya for a moment to take a look at this tool. This tool I bought not all that long ago, and then a couple weeks after I bought it, they made it available to everyone for free, which is amazing and awesome. I just wish I knew that a couple weeks prior. But it is what it is. It just reminds me a little bit of my adventures with Bitcoin. Whereas we all know Bitcoin exploded. I bought some and then it crashed. So I sold it and then it exploded again. And on that note, let's talk about something I know a little more about, and that is ngSkinTools. Okay, if you take a look at this, it automatically, right off the bat, says it's a skinning plugin for Autodesk Maya. It introduces new concepts to rigging, such as layers. That's right, you can make layers in your skinning workflows. It has really good mirroring capabilities, enhanced brushes, and true smoothing as opposed to fake smoothing, which we all hate fake smoothing. So this is true smoothing, and that's what we want. Okay, so check this out. Come to this website, ngskintools.com, click on Get. It's free now and for commercial use and all that cool stuff. So download it, check it out, get it installed. It's actually a really quick install too. It didn't take long. I just downloaded it again and installed it, and it went really, really quick. So check that out. If we come back over to Maya, after you install it and reboot Maya, you will see an ngSkinTools tab, and you'll see a tool right here. So we're going to launch that here in one sec. But I want to take a look at this guy real quick. So I think there was a couple things I wanted to do to this real quick. I just wanted to even some of that out. So I'm going to just select this vert, hold C and middle mouse, and it'll allow that to slide along that edge. Just even that out real quick. I probably should have did symmetry, but that's okay. Okay. So these pants look like this. And so the body will go into it. We don't really need the body legs and that sort of stuff once it gets down here. And then we have some boots. So I want to rig this guy. And this is going to be more of a macro look at ngSkinTools. So I'm not going to get in here and do facial rigs and all that sort of stuff. I'm probably not even going to do the jaw. Keep it a very high level look at ngSkinTools so that you can get the gist of it. So with that in mind, I'm going to enable our view for our bones, and I'm going to turn wireframe on shaded on so I can see that. And I'm going to launch ngSkinTools. So it'll look something like this when it first pops up. And what I want to do, I want to do a couple things with this. Oh, let's put all the geo into a group. Okay, geo. All right. So from here, this is no longer rigged, as you can see. And we're going to take this and we're going to select our root. We're going to skin and bind skin. So now there should be like a really rough, really crappy looking skin on here. And then we'll take that, skin, bind skin. Okay, cool. So that's just some basic, just to get some stuff essentially rolling. I also don't like the size of these bones. I tend to, especially for the hands, I tend to like these maybe a hair smaller. So I'm going to select the root, come down to this little mel line, and I'm going to type select space -sign HI. That's going to select the hierarchy. I'm going to come over here, making sure that I am in the channel box layer editor, and I'm going to put that to 1.5 for the bone radius. And so that's just going to make the bones a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's probably okay. We just want to get moving on in ngSkinTools. Okay, so I'm going to select the body, and I'm going to initialize skin layers. And from here, we have a couple things that I want to set up. First off, I want to come to effects, and I want to turn on limit max influences per vertex. So this means right now that only every vertice can have a weight to a joint, but there can only be 4. And this is great when you're trying to optimize games and that sort of stuff. You don't want vertices holding tons of weights. It gets a little heavier. So 4 is a good number. And we're going to go ahead and prune small weights. I like to put this 0.01. Mirror, this is true mirroring and not fake mirroring, which is really cool. For this, I'm going to go ahead and keep all this the same. Actually, no, I'm going to come back to mirroring. And I'm going to come down here to this preview and editing and edit mapping. And if you click that, this is the rules that it works off of to mirror from left to right. So for this rig graph, I'm going to open this up. So I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click that. And essentially what I'm looking for is like, okay, what is the naming convention that says that this particular rig graph is like left or right? So it looks like it's underscore R underscore L underscore. So if you put star, that means anything before, underscore, capital L, underscore, and then star means anything after. So as you can see, this is right in the middle, so it's going to look for the star would be anything before, it finds that naming convention, and then anything after. And then we're going to do star underscore R underscore star. And then you can save this as your defaults, and then every time this pops up, it'll have that. Okay, I'm going to click apply. I'm going to come to paint, and I want to make a layer. So this is a really strong and powerful feature. So I'm going to come up to layers, I'll create a layer. You could do things like where it's like you're working on just your fingers, and then you can make another layer, and that's just your torso and so forth. And maybe we'll do that for, trying to think, maybe we could do that for like the arm. So we'll name this arms, and then maybe we could have one for like torso. So the cool thing about this is if we can also mask. So I could say for the torso, let's do this. For the torso, I could paint a mask, put a paint, and we could paint the area that we want the mask. But you notice how I'm painting and it's not going over to the other side. So we want to turn on this option called interactive mirror. So now if I paint, you can see it pop up on the other side. I'm going to turn on this aliasing so it's a little easier to see. So this masking essentially says like if I paint anywhere outside of this mask, it doesn't matter what's going to happen because it's not going to do anything. I'm just going to go ahead and include the head in this torso. You could definitely break this down and make it a little better, or maybe we'll include like maybe. And if you hold control down, you can actually subtract. So we'll do that. Subtract some of this, cut that shoulder. And then I'm using B middle mouse to grow or shrink it. Okay, so for the torso, another thing you can do is when you turn on this skeleton view, you can come in here, and if you hold S down, you can see the joints. And so we can select like some of these joints, for instance, like this. And then we can paint that joint. I want to turn off the pants for a second. Back here, back into paint so we can see what's going on. And so here we would just kind of go like, okay, well, that's that joint. Then we get to this joint. Looks like that's only one edge loop. Control to remove anything you don't want. And something like that. Then we come up to this guy. Let's brush a little bit bigger. And again, I don't think I mentioned this, but I'm using replace for this. So I want to point that out. So coming all along right here. And this is also why it's really good to have nice topology, because if the topology is not clean and quads, this can be a pain. So this is why it's nice to have good solid topology. So again, I'm just holding S to highlight these. Come back up to this guy. And I think you could see why this mirror function is so helpful, because essentially all you have to do is now paint like half of the character. Okay. I want to hold that in place. Here, and we do something like that. Again, this is why I like topology that is really nice and even. Things are kind of getting a little slanted, which makes it a little tricky. We do want to come up, like I tend to like to do this kind of something like this, because this will be like kind of where the collarbone takes over, not takes off. So we want it to kind of come up like something like that. That's cool. And yeah, okay, so let's go to our collarbone. Actually, no, let's go back here. I think that could come up a little higher. Right up to that collarbone. Okay, then the collarbone will kind of pick up here. Again, I think that's maybe not high enough there for the collarbone, so we'd want it something like that. And the collarbone will just kind of pick up like right around here. Just make sure we got the right one. There we go. Cool. And then how's our mask looking? Looks like we're painting past our mask a little bit. Okay. There, and then we'll let the neck joint start picking up. And obviously take more time. I'm just doing this kind of quick because I want to get gist. Again, I'm not going to do the jaw and all that sort of stuff right now. So I'm just going to do the head as one mass. So you guys can do like some facial rigging and kind of get the jaw working and all that sort of stuff. But I just kind of want to give you a macro look at how the ngSkinTools works. And then, yeah, that's probably okay. So to give you a strategy, I do a hard pass at first. Let's do like that. So I like this because you can kind of jump back and forth between bones. And if I didn't mention this already, it's always the white layer that you're working on is the active one. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just kind of keep going down the line, something like that. So I usually just kind of do it by bone. until you hit the next bone that will take over. And yeah, so again, something like that, something like that. And actually, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. So we could break this up kind of like I was showing you, but I'm just going to keep it all in one right now. And then I'm going to come to the mask and then just include everything. So that's how the masking works. It's like you could come in and segment things out and say, oh, I want just the arms for this area and that sort of stuff. But I'm just going to do body. So rename it like that. Okay. Hold S. We're going to come. I tend to like to work from the bottom up. So like for these fingers, I tend to like to work down here. And just get that around. Okay. And the nice thing about the whole mirroring factor is we don't have to do this on the other side because this should be happening on the other side since we've set up the mirroring. So it's like saves you right off the bat half the work. And take your time with this. I mean, I'm kind of going faster just to kind of get what something rolling, but you can definitely take more time and really choose like what you want included for each bone. I'm just kind of making these choices really quick. That's okay because I do also plan on smoothing this out. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of the fingers like this and speed up the video just so we can get through the fingers, but it's the same process. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, you just kind of keep going up the chain, so to speak. I know there's some ways that you can do this procedurally too, where you just kind of do like a fill and some of that sort of stuff. You can look at that, but this actually goes pretty fast. Like I don't mind doing it. And I get more control if I paint it as well. So, and like I said too, again, ngSkinTools has made this a more enjoyable process. Maybe because the flow just goes quicker and it's not as painful to get decent skinning. Cool. So if you're wondering where this model came from, this is just a character creator model. I just kind of broke it apart and put the as we saw earlier, there was already like some default skin weights that were on there, but kind of figured like, hey, this might just be kind of a good model to demo on. already has a rig, that sort of stuff. I want that to get a little bit more. Oh, okay, just trying to see why that wasn't what I thought it was supposed to be. No, I do want to like that. So feel a little tighter on the bend. Again, it's not like this is all like laid in stone. You can always make changes later too. It's a cool thing about non-destructive workflows. Just a layer. You end up hating the paint you did on it and think the base weights were better, then you can always go with that. Okay, cool. So now comes the next part. Once you have your weights, and as you can see, it did it on the other side, did it pretty well. But once you have the baits or the weights laid out, I tend to save at this point. So I'll save and call this quick scan. Okay, cool. And then if you can change this to smooth, or you can also do this option where you just hold shift, and then you can come and just start painting a smooth out on all of this. So this is just kind of my process, how I go about it. Smooth all that out. So I'll paint everything nice and hard. Then I'll do kind of a smooth pass. And then I'll kind of go do a spot treatment. And then I'll do hammer skin weights and component editor and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of my workflow on like how I'll do this kind of stuff. Smooth all this nice now. You can see this is smoothing, and I'm just holding shift. So that's just kind of a shortcut to get to my smooth tool. Again, you could go and just change it to that, but I tend to like to keep it on replace. So if I'm like, nope, I want that in there, then I can come back and do stuff like that, right? So it's like I just have both options really quick, like right there. I'm like, oh, I missed something there, right? Like you can just go and smooth that. Another nice thing about that, the shift is if there wasn't something there and you go ahead and start smoothing that, it's going to put something in there. So I think everything now should be working pretty well. Looks like it. Cool. So we can just kind of come in and start to evaluate how we think, some of this is working. So let's do some keyframe sets and set. It's actually not too bad, but maybe you could work that. Paint. We do want so you could do some things like this where you're just kind of smoothing and that sort of stuff and just kind of playing with weights. Cut that. Going together, unfortunately, so maybe we'll just do something like that. And like that. So I don't like how that armpit's working, so we can come in here and we can really smooth some of this sort of stuff out. This may be where we have to come and do some add. So maybe we come here and we do a little bit of add. Let's kind of pull some of those weights back in. and then smooth some of this out. I'll show you some things, other workflows that I do for this as well. I really like this tool, but you know, it's not the only tool. This smooth is really nice though. As you can see, it does a really nice job. Okay, that's not bad. Because honestly, the shoulder wouldn't have been like that. It would also kind of been kind of like that. Which, let's see. We come here, do that, pull that up, pull this up. Actually, we might want to go back and do some add back on this, because this actually would kind of come up. Let's smooth some of this out. There's actually, I think there should be a joint in there too, which would help, I think, with some of this. And play around with, you know, some of this too. And smooth this out. This will be like where you have to just kind of work it, but yeah, you can definitely do some more of that. Um, Paint, maybe some of this could get smoothed out. Okay, that's starting to look better, but yeah, just continue to work stuff like that. Okay, and let's test out some of this stuff here. So those abs are kind of rough. Set a keyframe. Set a keyframe, then come here, back to our ngSkinTools. We'll paint and paint and smooth some of this out. This smooth tool is just awesome. And then our guy has no pants, which is unfortunate. And so, yeah, so for here, like you could see, we would just do the same thing, just create a layer, name it, pants, want to turn on the effects. So it's the same workflow over and over and over. Mirror, that's in there. We want to apply that. We want to paint it. And we want interactive smooth on. Cool. Some of that probably could be a little better, but And I'll show you a couple other tricks that we could do on that too. Let me just see a couple other things. So go here. Something okay. We bend. Something okay. All right, cool. And then it would just be like the boots. I'm probably not going to do that because I think this is just kind of going on a little bit long, but let's look at a couple other things. So when you are ready to bake your um, all this down, because right now if I turn this eyeball off, you can see it goes back to the base weights, right? So when you're ready to bake all of this down and all be in your general skin weights, you can just come to tools and then delete all custom nodes, and that's all going to go away. This is essentially done on these pants now, and it's back into general weights now. And so then we could do the same thing here. Looks like that took on that too. Yeah. But it's the same process. You would come, if that didn't delete for some reason, you could come back in here and just tool and delete all custom nodes. I think if you do it delete custom nodes, it'll go object by object. If you do delete all, it'll get like the one for the top, one for the bottoms, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so how can we come in here and do some things that we just want to do? So for one thing, if we come in here, we also check our skin clusters. So another thing that's important here is to make sure that the max influence is the same. And then we could do some things like where we come in and we select like this edge loop, this edge loop. Like some of this is still a little chunky. A smooth tool did a pretty good job though. And then we'll just convert that. So I'm gonna do Control F9, convert that to vertices. Then if we do greater than, maybe we get a selection like that. And then we could do something like skin, and we could do hammer skin weights. And that'll come in and do some things like smooth other things out. So here, maybe like that definitely made that smoother, but maybe now we need hammer skin weights for that. And I'm just going to click G on the keyboard since hammer skin weights is the last thing we did. Can do that again and see. I think that side's maybe looking okay, so we'll just do this side until we get to a place that we like. Okay. So now you can see the hammer skin weights. It did some things that we like. Another set of tools that you do have as well, this is kind of old school, but I still go to it, is the component editor. So if we go to smooth skin, then you have like, here's that vertex that I have selected. If I select any other vertice, you'll see that those numbers change. But maybe there's a vertex that you're just not real happy with. You could come in and select like that weight, and then you could slide it more towards 1 or more towards 0. And it's adaptive, as you can see right here. It's set to interactive, so it's going to normalize all these other ones to make sure that this comes out to the auto normalization. It's going to make sure that that's always at 1. So if I change this weight value, because maybe it's something like this and you're like, I want it to be, somewhere in here so that it flows better. Well, you can come in and slide this slider and get it exactly where you want it. And so this is where you can start to come and do like spot type stuff, like start to nudge things around and that sort of stuff. Um, but yeah, this is essentially the tool. Um, and the ngSkinTools, and hopefully that's been helpful and I use it. I would definitely use it. I have not used Maya's regular skinning tool set since I discovered the ngSkinTools. It's extremely powerful. All right, guys, that was a basic introduction to the ngSkinTools. Hopefully it was helpful. I would definitely use this workflow as you move forward. It's much better than Maya's old skinning tools. You've got layers, so non-destructive rigging or skinning. You've got that awesome smooth tool right there. Is you combine that with hammer skin weights, a component editor, some of your other workflows. I've got some other tools that I've developed. Maybe I'll push those along to you guys at some point as well. But that tool set is going to make this process of skinning a lot easier and non-destructive, so you have flexibility. So definitely check this tool out. It's the future for skinning in Maya, and it's going to be a part of the Maya interface anyways. So check it out. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I'll catch you guys next time.